Right on. So we're broadcasting from the beautiful Kauai Community College campus, our satellite output coming from Kauai Community College. This is Jimmy Trujillo with this Out of the Box special. It is the Thursday before Christmas, and we are celebrating good things in the garden. I've got a couple of guests, special off-island visitors that are visiting from all around Hawaii, coming to share good things for folks on Kauai. We've been part of a gardening, farming program at Kauai Community College. Joshua Fukino, who is a Kekahu Board of Director as well as a KCC faculty member, who was instrumental in helping to get both this broadcast going today here on Out of the Box, as well as the Monday Olelo Hawaii program that is hosted by the Hawaiian Studies program here on Mondays from noon to 1. That's the second and last Monday of every month. And today I'm joined by Joe McGinn, who is from Oahu. And Joe, talk in the mic, see if we can hear your beautiful voice.
Aloha. Yeah, right, here we go.
There we go.
All right.
Sounding good out there. We are definitely, if you will, kind of breaking new ground with this program. We've broadcasted here from KCC a couple of times, but this is the first time that I've been doing it here without my good friend Yaw Caduce, or X-Man, helping out. Joe is a instructor with Windward Community College, as well as a member of the Cho Global Natural Farming Hawaii. Joe, if you could tell me a little bit about Cho Global Natural Farming Hawaii.
Sure, I'll tell you a little bit about Joe and Cho Global Natural
Thanks,
Farming
Joe.
Hawaii.
Appreciate it.
For myself, born and raised on the island of Oahu, and one of the things that I had to grow up looking at was all of this sugarcane land that over my lifetime has slowly become homes. And one reason they always said this was going to happen was because they said our old sugarcane lands, our old pineapple fields were so poisoned with chemical fertilizers, insecticides, and pesticides that you wouldn't be able to grow food on those same lands. So instead, they decided to build houses. Mm-hmm. That's one thing we're looking at on Oahu. So for myself, I came from a farming background. My great-grandfather had a ulu farm on Oahu, and that's all I ever wanted to do was do what my grandparents did. Mm-hmm. But looking at the reality of Oahu, it didn't seem like that would be possible with the land that we've inherited. Mm-hmm. How this ties in with Cho Global Natural Farming is a few years ago, I saw this friend of mine was going to a farming workshop, and it was for something called natural farming. And kind of reluctantly, I got to be honest, I was almost forced to go. But
a little skeptical of natural farming?
I just, they're going. I'll just hear from them later on. I don't need to go check it out. But what I was greeted by, for me growing up, I had a lot of questions in life. I'm always asking why, how come it's this way, and I never had answers. And with natural farming, it seemed like it was the answers, the answers to all of the things I've always wondered. But specifically the Cho Global Natural Farming Hawaii, we were really, really lucky. There was a person by the name of Master Hankyu Cho, kind of a little bit older man now in Korea, and we were very fortunate for him to come to Hawaii and share his practice of farming. He uses no chemicals, so no chemical fertilizers, no chemical poisons. The secret is life and in caring for life. And he's developed these methods that are tried and true, practiced throughout Asia for hundreds of years. And he put it together in a comprehensive system that, you're able to take care of soil on its smallest level and also be able to provide for, plants, animals, and people living strong, healthy, happy lives. So kind of in a nutshell, that's both Joe and Cho Global Natural Farming.
And before going to that workshop, were you actively involved in farming? Were you getting down and dirty in the garden?
For me, it's been kind of a journey. I personally carried a lot of hurt and frustration with me. When I was really, really young, I had the opportunity to spend some time with my great-grandparents to see how they lived. And they seemed like the happiest people ever. happy to be out in the garden or out on the farm. And my aunties and uncles and my parents didn't have the same, I guess you could say, goals in life. They wanted to live, of course, a good life, but a lot of them chose to move to the city, go get jobs. And, with that, I've seen their health and the health of our family really deteriorate. So for me, it's been a sort of a journey back towards getting into farming. I did the whole 9-to-5 job, when I got the college degree, got a good education, got a good job, but I still wasn't happy. I still wasn't healthy. So for me, it's sort of been this a road towards healthiness and happiness that is bringing me back into farming, or actually more so bringing me back into growing our own food, the own food you eat, and growing enough and to be able to share with other people.
And how long have you been instructing? You say sharing with others. I've been fortunate enough to sit in on some of these classes, and have really appreciated your sharing of your experience with the natural farming methods, as well as just your personal sharing and your exuberance for both working in the garden, for providing sustenance for each other, and being able to offer a little bit. As you mentioned on our first night, we all gave a little bit of history about ourselves and where we came from, and wanting to honor our ancestors and our connection with the earth. Tell me a little bit more about how you, as an individual and as an instructor, incorporate all these things into this methodology.
For me, it's a little bit different. Where the approach I like to take comes more rooted in the culture and the ways of more of an Eastern perspective. A lot of us here in Hawaii respect both our Polynesian as well as our ties to Asia that we have. So within this philosophy of natural farming, there is a lineage. I learned from I was able to actually learn from Master Cho directly, as well as his daughter Ju Young Cho. So my knowledge has come from somewhere. So it was important for us in the class as we shared. A lot of people use the word teach. Hey, Joe, you're the natural farming teacher. And, I really don't like that word teach, because in, I guess, a more Western academia setting, teaching is really one directional. Really what we're doing is we're sharing. We're sharing about our experiences, sharing about ourselves, and sharing about our connection, and not only to place, but to people. So that's why it's really important. It's really important for me, on that first day of class, that we understand, who each other is, first of all. In Hawaii, we always ask, hey, how's it? What's your name? Or where you from? Second question. Yeah. So that's understanding not only where we're from, but where our grandparents are from. So we can understand better our ties, not only to each other, but our connection to this earth that we live on. We are connected to different parts of the world. And I think a lot of people right now are just sort of misplaced. So if we can connect, to the place where our DNA is connected to, we connect to the culture, connect to really the microorganisms of that place and that smallest basic level of life. I think there's something in it. There's a secret to life in that.
That's for sure. And I really would like to get into the microorganism part of it in a little bit. But I want to hear a little bit more, and if you could share with our listeners a little bit more about Master Cho and some of the stories you shared during the course in regards to how he came to Hawaii, how Hawaiians, or how the doctor from the Big Island ventured over to Korea. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit about that.
Sure, definitely. I think it's really good to get that perspective, because I think with the other guests that we have in studio as well, if you ask their perspective on Master Cho and their connection, we all have very unique but very strong ties to the master. So for myself, it goes back to that, that first class that I didn't want to go to. And teaching that class was a small older gentleman. His name is Dr. Park. Dr. Park is a physician in Hilo. If you grew up in Hilo and you had a doctor when you was growing up, most likely it was Dr. Park. So a lot of people know Dr. Park from growing up in Hilo. But for Dr. Park, who's been a pediatrician for most of his life, he always had one question, and that was, why today, with all these medicines that we have, why are there so many people who are sick? How come there's so many diseases? It just didn't make sense. So for Dr. Park, he does a lot of missionary work, and he was down in the Philippines, and this couple that he was staying with had this pig pen that did not stink. He thought it was the most amazing thing ever, and he couldn't believe it. He said, how is this possible? And they shared with him a book, and on the front of the book it said, Hong Kyu Cho. So Dr. Hoon Park said, hey, that guy's Korean. I'm Korean. So he went on a mission to go find this guy, Master Cho, to find out more of this technique. And Dr. Park amazingly built a good relationship with Master Cho and actually brought Master Cho over to Hawaii a few years ago. He was able to bring Master Cho, I believe, directly to the Big Island first, but he also spent time on Oahu, and I'm not sure if he spent some time on the other islands. But Dr. Hoon Park, who I need to credit also in my lineage of natural farming, was the link to bring Master Cho to Hawaii.
And how long ago was this?
I believe that's about going on 5, maybe 6 years ago.
Terrific. And Dr. Park is still practicing medicine on the Big Island.
Yep. Out in Hilo, I think he's moving over to the Kona side. So if you guys out there in Kona, you guys have a great man in your neighborhood.
There we go.